Welcome to Entrepreneurs International Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I'm Roger Killen, your organizer. Today, Janelle Anderson is training us on how to attract more ideal clients by creating fearless confidence. Janelle, I've got 3 questions that are going to help us get to know you at a personal level. The first question is this. What is your greatest single accomplishment?
My greatest single accomplishment, I believe, is the book that I just finished writing. It took me almost 3 years, and it's my greatest accomplishment because in it is my story that I have never written down before, and it was really difficult to write it down. You will hear some of it tonight and probably understand, but I'm very, very proud of the fact that I got this book finished and it's being edited and getting ready to be published, hopefully by the end of the year.
And it took you 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Was that
Yes.
for a labor of love?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second question. What is your favorite way of having fun and releasing your stress and tension?
Well, I get to do it this weekend, and I haven't done it since COVID started. I love to contra dance. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that before, but it is so fun. It is sort of like square dancing on steroids. And it's a very social dance, and you dance with a partner, and there's a couple in front of you, and so you're a 4, and you're up and down this line, up and down the hall, dancing to live music and a collar all together, and it's just fabulous. I can't wait to do it again.
So what's the difference between contra dancing and square dancing?
Well, there are some of the same moves, like you do swing your partner, and you do uh, a lot of, I won't say all the names because you may not know what they are, but a lot of the same kinds of moves, but instead of doing it in an 8, you in a group of 8, you do it in a group of 4, and so you're moving all the time, whereas in square dancing, sometimes you're standing there, and so it's a lot faster paced.
Oh,
And there's some other differences too.
wow. Okay. Taught me something I never knew. And the third and last question is this. What is the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
I would have to say it came from my mom, who said to me when I was growing up, she always would say, the truth always comes out. And it taught me that I should always be honest because there's no point in lying because the truth is going to come out. And she was right. It always did. Anytime I tried to not tell the truth, I got found out. So I just started telling the truth and being truthful.
Ah, okay. Good advice. Your mom was a very wise woman.
She was.
Participants, as Janelle is speaking, if you have questions, would you please type them into the chat? And I'll batch them and pose them to Janelle during her talk. Now, you'll be sent a link to the recording of Janelle's talk in a few hours, but please take notes anyway, because the very act of taking notes is going to increase what you absorb by as much as 30%. Janelle, are you ready to knock our socks off?
I am ready always.
Then take it away. She's all yours.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I am so excited to be here with you all tonight. Thank you so much for coming. And I can't wait to share with you what I have put together here and what I have learned about confidence, and especially speaking up with confidence to attract more clients, to build your business, to get yourself out there. And what I'm going to be sharing with you, I think, will be things that you can put to use right away and start doing and seeing a difference. I just want to make sure that you are with me and that you are present, and just ask you to turn off any distractions, turn off Facebook, turn your volume down on your phone, just be here with us. And also get out a pen and paper and take notes, because you're going to want to capture everything that I'm sharing with you tonight, okay? So confidence is my topic. I am a confidence coach, and I'll be sharing with you a gift at the end of the night that I put together that is called the Lead to Client Conversation Blueprint. And I learned this from my own coach, how to talk to people and leads and possible clients through a nurturing, relationship building kind of journey. And in this ebook, there are scripts, there are templates, there's guiding principles that I go by that help me to remember that I am not jumping all over somebody when I first meet them. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that when you join a group or, in LinkedIn or something, and right away they're trying to sell you something and they don't even know you yet. So this helps you to build that relationship first and to go through what I've identified as a 5-stage journey to help you with those conversations. So I'm going to be sharing that with you and giving that to you as my freebie at the end of the talk, and it is a part of what I do with my clients and my students. But I want to talk about confidence. So I'm a confidence coach, that's what I call myself, and mainly I work with women. I help women to build confidence in who they are and in what they do so that they can do what they're called to do, what they were made to do, so that they can show up on that stage of life just comfortable in their own skin and attracting to themselves their ideal clients and their audience and the people that they were meant to that they were called to serve, and also to fulfill their passion in life. Now, although I do usually work with women, I have worked with men, and what I'm sharing tonight is definitely going to help men and women, and it will help any entrepreneur really, or anyone maybe starting a business, no matter where you are in that journey, because we all need confidence. Confidence is like this superpower, and it has been proven through lots of studies about confidence and about the impostor syndrome. There's a lot of studies out there, a lot of research about this. It's been proven that confidence actually has a direct link to success. And there are many reasons for that, but one of them is that it attracts success to you because confidence is attractive. When you're around confident people, you feel confident and you want to be in their presence because it just feels good, right? And it's attractive because you can trust that person when you feel that confidence coming from them. So it also is a direct link to success because confident people take action. They do stuff. They don't let things get in their way. They overcome obstacles. They're not afraid to speak up. They're not afraid to take on challenges and move themselves forward. Whereas if you're lacking confidence, sometimes you hold yourself back. You're not pushing forward. You're not taking chances. So confidence is super, super important, and it feels really good. Another thing about confidence is that when you're confident, you run full out, like you will go for it, right? And I don't know if you've ever been to a horse race, but horse racing is so exciting. The first horse race I ever went to, I was in high school. My dad, who had been in the Navy, well, he had a buddy who had a son going to West Point. And so they were having this event and he could bring a guest. And my dad decided that I should be the guest to his son. It was a blind date. It was, fixed up by my dad. And I didn't know this guy, but I went, and he was very nice. And one of the things that we did is we went to a horse race. It was so exciting because you could feel the energy from these horses all lined up, ready to go. They're, pawing in the dirt with their hooves. They're snorting, and you could just see their muscles twitching. They are ready to run this race, because they know how to do it, right? They have everything they need to run this race. They're strong and they're powerful. They've been trained. But there's one problem, and that's that gate in front of them. They can't run their race because there's this gate stopping them. And that is what I like to think of when I think of imposter syndrome or imposter stories. They're like these gates that are blocking us from running full out. They're stopping us because there are thoughts like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have what it takes. And it's just a gate in front of you. Even though you have what it takes, it's a gate stopping you from running your race. But when you're confident and you remove the gates, you unlock them and open them, you run full out. And when you run full out, you'll bring success into your life. And it's more exciting, and you inspire other people, and you enjoy your life, and you do what you were called to do. To me, it was very, very important to build confidence because, I wasn't born with a confidence gene myself, and I don't know how many people were, but It was really a personal thing, and it was an inner work. So I always think of confidence as this inside job. And literally it means to trust. The word confidence comes from the Latin word fidere, which means to trust. So you are confident. When you are confident, you trust yourself. You believe in yourself. You believe in your abilities, just like those horses. And that comes from inside. So it really is an inside job. You can build confidence outwardly. And this is where I see a lot of people making the mistake of thinking that they could build confidence outside of themselves. And you can practice something and do something enough times that you feel confident in that one thing. When I learned to play piano, the more that I practiced and the more that I did it, the more confident I became in playing piano. But that didn't mean I was going to also be confident in speaking in front of a room of people, right? So to me, fearless confidence is that inner confidence in who you are, that trusting in yourself as a person, that no matter what you want to do, you can do it because you trust in your ability to do new things. You trust in who you are. And so it's important that you build this inner confidence as well as do things over and over again and practice them. So I kind of do a combination of both. In my research, in my work with clients, my work with students, I've found that the most prominent place that a lack of confidence shows up is in their speaking up, in finding that voice, in expressing who they are, in expressing what it is they're all about, and being able to communicate with confidence in front of a room or in a place like this, in a networking event or one-on-one with potential clients, anywhere that you go where you need to talk about who you are and what you do. That's where I saw a block, a gate showing up over and over again. So I decided that I wanted to help my clients and my students to build confidence first by activating their voice and speaking up. Because when you're speaking, you are communicating and expressing who you are to the world. And it's hard to grow your business without it, right? We all need to be able to speak up. And sorry for my dog barking. No matter what, you're going to need to learn how to speak up. If you want to attract more clients, you're going to need to be able to talk to them. If you want to close a sale, you're going to have to be able to have an authentic sales conversation with confidence. And it's very important to do that deep inner work, but I have found that most people aren't ready to do that right away. So I decided to focus on just helping them build confidence in speaking up first. Speaking up with confidence is a foundational skill. Every entrepreneur needs to know this. They need this to grow their business. You need to be able to get up in front of the room or be at a networking meeting and talk about what you do, or in the grocery store, if somebody says, what do you do? Being able to talk with confidence and with authenticity too. Super important, because words are important. Words express who you are. Words that you speak over yourself, words that you speak to yourself are important. They carry a power, and they help you to either get through that gate and open it and run your race, or they hold you back, because words carry meaning. And so what are you saying to yourself? What are those thoughts? What are those imposter stories you're telling yourself about your business? And what are you speaking to other people about who you are and about your business? It's very important to know that, because how you speak about yourself to yourself will manifest and bring into your life whatever you're speaking. So are you saying things like, I just don't have what it takes. I don't think I can do this. Why would anybody want to pay money for my service? I don't know if I'll ever succeed. If you're saying those words to yourself, that's the message you're giving yourself. That's what you will attract. No clients, no business, no success. But if you speak things like, I have amazing gifts and value to bring to people. I am attracting my ideal clients every day. I am successful. If you're speaking those words over yourself, then you will attract that into your life. But there's one catch to just speaking words. Just words themselves, if you don't believe them, they won't have power over them. So you've got to believe what you're saying. I mean, I could say all day long that I live in a mansion by the water and my dream home, but if I don't believe it, if I don't truly believe in my heart that that is coming or that that is in my future, I probably won't ever manifest it. So how do you get to the place where you're believing with that inner confidence in yourself and in your business, so that when you speak those words, you really mean them and you really believe them, and then they have the power to change your life?
Janelle,
So that's
you
what I
ready
want to
for
share.
your first question?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Suki wants to know what your thoughts are about how to practice confidence.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, because that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing. So hang on. I'm about to jump into that, how to practice it. It's super important to practice confidence and to do it from, like I'm saying, from this place of authenticity and belief in yourself. So I want to share with you how to do that, how to have and create unshakable confidence, how to put that into practice. I will be sharing with you 3 ways that you can feel empowered and authentic in a sales conversation instead of awkward and salesy, and how to go from invisible and unknown to being a magnet for your ideal clients. So how many of you want to be a magnet to your ideal clients?
Janelle, I misinterpreted Suki's question.
Oh, okay.
Suki means what beliefs to practice believing ahead of time.
What beliefs?
I don't
to-
understand it either. So maybe Suki, you can unmute and explain what in fact your question is.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and
Yes.
clear.
I guess I just wanted to see, like, there's beliefs about yourself. I don't know if there's certain ones that you think that even if it's, how you said you provide value, like I provide value, like even if you don't truly believe that, if you practice that ahead of time, are there
Right.
any specific ones that, you suggest for others that, that are definitely will stick, we keep practicing, or the ones that you suggest that have a very good impact on, especially for women in business?
Yes. I think that it it will vary from person to person. When you have your, one of the things that I work on is helping my clients to find their own message. Like when it's based on your own passion and what you truly believe and want to do in the world, your why, then your words for yourself will come. I could tell you what to say, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will be the right ones for you, which is why I'm saying, it's so important to believe what you're saying. The words that you're speaking, it's so important to believe it. And really that comes from knowing yourself. It comes from really knowing your gifts that you're bringing to the world. And as I share my story here in a minute, you'll see how I transformed from somebody who had no confidence to somebody that realized that I had this value to offer, and I learned what the specific value I brought to the world was by getting to know me and why I was passionate about certain things. So that those words need to be your words, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
that
some,
makes sense. Thank you.
yeah, and sometimes it takes an unveiling, kind of a journey to get there, which is what part of the process that I do with women, and a little bit of what I'll be sharing with you tonight. And of course, that is a long process. I couldn't dive into all of what is involved in really getting to know yourself and, peeling away the layers of things that are not you and that are imposter stories that come from our childhood and from our experiences, because that takes time. But that's definitely the process that gets you to that strong inner confidence. So any chance that you have to get to know yourself better and to spend some time peeling away the onion, so to speak, and to removing that gate that's standing in your way, it's worth doing. So hopefully that made sense. So let's jump into the content here. This is just what I believe, and it really does mean a lot to me. personally, and that is that a confident woman is a woman who knows her value and worth. Because when you don't feel like you have value and worth, you aren't going to be confident. But a confident woman is not afraid to step out on center stage of her life as the star of her own story and say, hey, I'm here, and this is who I am, and this is what I bring. And that kind of confidence is a magnet. People love it. They're attracted to it because they want it. And she knows that her voice carries weight. It brings a presence. Every person on this planet has a voice, has a message. When I say voice, I mean message that carries weight, because we all have our own way of impacting the world. And knowing what that is and owning it is so powerful. And it does carry weight. So what I want to tell you is that you actually can create this confidence. And you might be sitting there thinking, I was not born with the confidence gene, and I'm just not confident, and I have no idea how to create confidence. But I want you to even go ahead and type it into the chat box that I create my own confidence, or I am my own confidence creator. There are some people who are born confident just by nature, by their temperament, but most of us do not have this confidence gene. We have to create our own confidence. And it's within your power. Like, nobody can create this for you. You are the creator of your own confidence. And I love it. I see people typing in the chat box. I create my own confidence. I want you to write that down, put it on a card or a piece of paper, put it up in front of you, put it everywhere, and say it to yourself every single day. I create my own confidence. And it even feels wonderful to even say that. I create my confidence. And I do want to share a little bit of my personal story with you tonight, because I want you to know that what I'm talking about tonight, I know firsthand what it's like to not feel confident. In fact, I felt like a completely worthless person, a completely worthless human being, because of some things that happened in my past. I was born into a big family. I was the first girl. I was one of the older kids, and I felt always drowned out. I didn't feel like my voice was heard, sitting around the dinner table. I'm trying to be heard. I'm trying to say something, and there's so much noise, and nobody's listening to me. And oftentimes I would turn to the wall and just talk to the wall out of frustration. And my family would look at me and say, "What are you doing? Why are you talking to the wall?" Well, because nobody will listen to me. And they would just laugh and go back to talking and still not listen to me. And I just took on this story that I was not important, that my voice didn't matter. What I had to say was boring. Nobody wanted to hear it. And that started young. But it was exasperated 100 times by some events that happened when I was young. In 1972, I was 19 years old, in college, a sophomore in college. And one night I went out with my friend to a local bar just to hang out and have some fun, play some foosball. And we were just having a few drinks, talking to some guys, just, relaxing, having fun like college kids do. The next thing I remember, I'm waking up in my bed, in my room, and there's a man on top of me. And I can't figure out what's going on. I can't move. I'm confused. I'm fuzzy-headed, and then I black out. I come to in the morning, alone in my room, and I look and I see there's blood on the sheets, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. Oh my gosh. I lost my virginity with a man I don't even know. That wasn't supposed to happen. I was waiting till I got married. I was raised a good Catholic girl. I mean, this is not supposed to have happened. How did I let this happen? How did I let this happen? I must be nothing but trash. That was the thought that hit me. I let this happen. The next day, I'm walking on the campus, and I see this guy coming toward me. And I'm still in a daze. But I see him, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is he looking at me? Is he going to talk to me? But no, he's actually looking right through me. as if I don't even exist. And he walked right on by like I'm not even there. That must mean I don't matter. I'm just worthless. This event just landed in my soul like that. My fault, which I know is very common with sex abuse victims. And I never told anyone. So for the next 4 years, it just opened the door to a lot of other events where or a lot of other like guys in my life that exploited and used and took advantage because I was desperately looking for someone to tell me that I was worthy of love. 4 years later, 23 years old, newly graduated from college, I'm again out in a club, and I meet this guy. Handsome, charming, he's paying attention to me. I feel attractive. I'm like, well, maybe I am worthy of love. So I start to date him. A couple months in, he decides that we should move to California. So I agree because I don't have a job yet. So we're on our way to California from Colorado. And he says, let's stop in Las Vegas. Okay, so we stop in Las Vegas for a visit. But the visit turns into a week, into 2 weeks, into a month, into 2 months. One afternoon, I'm sitting on a bar stool in a casino in the middle of the afternoon. Hardly anybody is in there. And I'm all dressed up. Makeup on, hair done. I'm sitting there at the bar, nursing a drink. But inside, I just want to go throw up. I don't want to be there. I don't want to do what I'm doing. Why am I here? I want to just run out of there. But I look over at the door and I see my boyfriend standing there watching me, making sure that I follow through with his plan. He told me that I was so beautiful, I was worth more than just working a job. And he asked me, do you love me? If you love me, you'll do this for me. I'm sitting at the bar in a casino, getting ready to do something I don't want to do, but I don't see a way out. And I feel worthless. A man comes and sits down next to me, smelling of cigarettes and booze, and he looks over at me and he asks, are you working? Everything inside of me is screaming, no, no. But I say, yes. We go to his motel room. He pays me. I give him what he paid for. And a part of me dies that day. And I become, in my eyes, nothing but trash. I became a prostitute that day. And that scene played over and over again, hundreds of times over the next 3 years. Barstool after barstool, casino after casino, motel room after motel room, strange man after strange man, hundreds of times. This is me during that time in my life. And if you look closely, you can see in my eyes, I am vacant. I am shut down. I am not even there. Because I can't show up. I became so disassociated and disconnected from who I was, and I just felt worthless. At the age of 26, 3 years into this, one night we have a terrible fight. I find myself on the floor. He's choking me. I almost pass out, and I see the evil, raged look in his eyes, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to kill me? But suddenly, he lets go, and he runs out of the apartment. I'm hysterical, sobbing, freaking out. I call my mom. It's the middle of the night. I don't know what my mom thought when she heard her daughter just crying and sobbing like, help, help. But I'll never forget what she said. She said, Janelle, I just feel like Jesus wants you to come home to him, and he wants to give you peace. Now, having been raised a Catholic all my life, I believed in God. I believed in Jesus. But I didn't think that he would ever forgive me or accept me after everything I had done. But the words home and peace, I needed them. I wanted them so badly. I wanted out of that life. I wanted to come home to who I was. I wanted to have peace. So I prayed with her. As soon as I got off the phone, I experienced a peace, a presence of peace that just came over me and filled me from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And I knew, somehow I knew, I was never going to go back out and sit on another bar stool and be in another motel room ever again. I was done. I was rescued from that life of prostitution that day. And I came home to Virginia. And I wish I could tell you I was instantly confident. But I was a broken woman. I was a shell of a woman. I had no confidence and no sense of self-worth. I didn't tell anyone about it because I was so ashamed. So I lived with that, all of that story for the next 30 years. I didn't want to tell people anything about it. So it was like I was living in this house that was falling down and trashed. You know, paint peeling on the walls and windows broken in and just trash everywhere. So I just closed the door and I lived on the front porch and I related to the world from the front porch, an outer shell of who I was. I couldn't let anybody in. I didn't want to go in there. I didn't want to see all that. So I just shut the door and I tried to forget all about all of that. I thought that if I just didn't think about it, it would go away. And so I continued to live with that story that I was worthless, that I was nothing but trash. And I stuffed it down and just kind of lived this outer life. The problem was that it didn't go away and it silenced my voice. I didn't feel like I mattered, so I didn't have a voice and I couldn't speak up. And so I played small. I was a teacher, but I taught in small schools with small classrooms because I didn't believe I had what it took to teach in a public school or to go after my master's degree or anything that I really wanted. 30 years went by. And in my mid-50s, I hit a wall. I was sitting in a women's retreat, literally sitting up against the wall and feeling this tug of war inside like, I'm 50-something years old and I feel like there's so much more for me to do, but I don't feel like I have what it takes, you know? And I'm sitting there thinking, I should be in front of the room. I should be up there speaking. I should be leading. I just felt this compulsion. I felt this urge. I felt this calling to be in the front of the room as a speaker, as a teacher, as a leader. But at the same time, I thought, well, who am I to do that? Why would anybody listen to me? What do I have to say that anybody would want to hear? And so back and forth for about an hour, this tug of war was going on in my heart. And I looked down at the Bible in my lap, and it just happened to be open to this one scripture that literally leapt off the page at me. And I heard, it was like it showed up right in front of me, and I heard this message. It said, stop. Stop shrinking back in fear. I haven't given you fear. I haven't given you a spirit of fear. I've given you a spirit of power and love and a sound mind. That was the scripture. And I knew in that moment, like I had a choice in this moment. It was one of those moments, you know, that's just like a line is drawn in the sand. And I knew that I could choose to keep shrinking back or I could choose to step into my power. But I also knew it meant to go back into the house and face all the trash. And that's that inner work I was talking about. And all of us have stories. All of us have some trash in our house that we haven't looked at. It's the trash talk that we tell ourselves. And maybe your stories aren't as traumatic as mine, but they're there. And sometimes we just don't want to even look at them. But I'm here to tell you tonight that it's worth looking at them and stripping away all those lies, all those things that aren't true about you. And that's what I did. I started doing that work. And I discovered that all of that stuff that happened to me, those men that took advantage of me and used me and all of that, that didn't determine who I was. It didn't mean that I was trash. The real me was underneath all of that. And once I got to her, I started experiencing this confidence. I started finding myself speaking up. I started showing up in my life. And the first time that I really ever spoke publicly, I was tasked by my coach training school to host a call that 200 people would attend. I was the host. Oh, talk about being nervous. I was very nervous. I was very scared. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What if my voice isn't interesting enough? What if I'm too boring? But I did it. And afterwards, he told me, well, you know, you need to improve on some things. It wasn't that great. And at first I was really bothered by that. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this. That's terrible. I'm terrible at this. But then because I had done that work, I was able to stop and say, wait a minute, let me learn the skills needed, because I do believe that I'm meant to speak in front of the room. So let me just learn and let me start practicing. And so the mindset shift and the practice are huge in building this confidence. So I started to do it, and I started to learn, and I started speaking on podcasts and on summits, and I started my own podcast. And before you know it, you know, over the last year or so, I've spoken on over 50 podcasts and summits and stages and my own webinars and things like that. And I get up in front of the room and I'm excited to share my story because I learned who I was. I began to embrace the value of who I was once I cleaned out that house. And then I learned the skills to start speaking. And that's really all that it takes. So my purpose is to empower and inspire women to create this confidence in who they are and in what they do. It's my passion in life, so that they can impact the world as well. And I'm conscious of the time, so I do want to get into some content here. I want to ask you, are you taking advantage of this power of speaking up? Like, there's so much power in speaking up confidently, and it feels so, so good. There are 3 challenges that come up over and over again when I ask women, are you ready to step into that power and speak up? And one of them is, I don't feel qualified. I don't feel like I have it. I'm not competent. I'm not able. And another one is that whole selling conversation and asking for full price. And it feels so salesy and it just feels so awkward. And the third one is getting out there. Putting yourself out there in front of your audience, getting on podcasts, getting on stages, that whole speaking up piece. So I want to share with you just 3 secrets to these 3 challenges, and then I'm going to quickly go through my process, and then I'll be ready to take any questions you guys have. So secret 1, and that is the credibility question. You are much greater than you think you are. You already have so much expertise and value right where you are right now. And yes, you're going to grow, but right now you have something to share for those people that haven't gotten to where you are. So own it and share what you have now. One of the exercises that I do in my course is what I call the Confidence Gene Creator. This is one of those practical things that you can do to start building that confidence in your expertise. And what you do is you just think about 3 of your greatest accomplishments. Write them down, write out all the details. Like I shared, one of mine is writing a book. Write down what were the obstacles you had to overcome. How hard was it? What did you do? What was in you? What were the strengths and the qualities in you that enabled you to even do it? What were the skills that you had? Write that all down. And then when you connect your strengths, your skills, what enabled you to accomplish that, when you connect those 2 together and write them down, you start to create this mindset that does affect your genes. Actually, our minds and our thoughts do turn on our genes, actually open them up, and we can create new mind neuropathways and new mind thoughts. So you write all that down, and then you don't just write it down. You have to speak it out loud. So you speak it out loud. I would even say record yourself talking about your own accomplishments. Especially for women, we have a hard time owning our accomplishments. And this is what I have my students do. And I find that they generalize it and they just kind of talk about the surface, like, oh, I just did this and I did that. And I say, no, stop. I want the details. Tell me what made you able to do that. What is your the talents that you have, like what enabled you to finish that book? And what did you have to overcome? Speak it out loud, record yourself saying it. And then I want you to pat yourself on the back, give yourself a high five, acknowledge that you did that thing. Just like you would tell somebody that you love that you're proud of them, tell yourself you're proud of yourself for doing that. Go see yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm so proud of you. Look what you did. You wrote a book. How awesome is that? Do that for yourself, and you will start to create your own expertise confidence, your own confidence gene, and be able to speak more confidently and feel more confident about the value that you bring. The next secret is just that selling conversation. You need a reframe. It's not that you are trying to talk people into something, but you're inviting them into a conversation to see if you can help them. It's an invitation to a conversation. Conversations are things we have every single day. And when you become confident in having conversations and connecting with people on that level and just showing up in curiosity about them and about what it is that you can do to help them, that makes that conversation so much more authentic, and there's no selling. You are inviting them, and if your service matches what they're looking for, then you can invite them to work with you. This was a huge game changer for me because it took the whole focus off of me trying to get them to buy something from me or hire me to what is going on for them. How can I help them? Let me find out about you. Let me invite you into this conversation. And then they feel seen and heard and valued. And that changes everything. So these are the 3 ways to feel empowered and authentic in those sales conversations. Be curious, wonder about them, ask questions, show up in service. And when you do that, you will create the trust that they need in you, and they will be open to hearing from you what you offer them. So be curious, show up in service, and ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more you know about them and what they need before you offer them. Just like I said earlier, those people on LinkedIn that just start selling to you right away, they don't even know what you're looking for. So show up first of all in this attitude and find out, what do you need? I wonder what they need. I wonder what they're looking for. I wonder what's important to them. And then you ask the questions and you're thinking, oh, I could help you with that. Would you like to hear more? That's an invitation. So it's a mindset reframe, really. And the third secret is about visibility and getting yourself out there, is just know that your people are already looking for you. They're already looking for you. And it's just like you're taking a trip down the highway, right? And you are looking for some coffee. And you're looking for a Starbucks. And you see the sign in the road and you're like, there it is. There's the Starbucks. Now I know how to get it. And that's all it is putting yourself out there or getting visible, is just putting your sign in the road because your people are already looking for you. And you're just helping them find you. And for me, that just makes it so much easier to put myself out there because they're already looking for me. I don't have to go out there and shake people and say, would you please be my customer? No, they're looking for me. My people are looking for me. And those are the people I need to attract. I don't need to attract anybody else, just those people that are looking for me. So I want to help them find me. How can I help them find me? Now, I realize that I'm running short on time, and are there any questions right now? Because
no questions.
Okay, all right.
And,
so quickly,
you've got another 25 minutes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. So those 3 challenges and those 3 secrets, I have woven them into this formula that I put together called the Fearless Confidence Formula. And it's a 6-step formula, and it's really, as I said earlier, the whole inner confidence thing is a very deep dive, cleaning out the house, like that could take a lot of time and that could be very scary. And that's something for a longer term work. For me, it was really years. But what I can do is help people start to find their voice. And I start very simply with something that we all do every single day, and that is conversations. We have conversations every day. And I've discovered, especially for women, I don't know if this is true for men, but a lot of women tell me that they feel very awkward just having conversations, just normal conversations, not even to mention business conversations, but just conversations. One of my most popular workshops was called How to Talk to Anyone. I mean, it was packed. They even did a newspaper column on it. The newspaper reporter came with a photographer around this workshop because it was the topic itself, how to talk to anyone. So I start with just that. Let's talk about conversations. And let's connect to the energy. There's an energy in conversations. And if you can start to, when you're talking to someone, start trying to tune into the energy between you, the body language, the things that are not being said, what you're feeling from them, what you're projecting. We pick up on other people's energy all the time, but we're not always tuned into it. And usually when people go into conversations, they're so focused on themselves, right? They're so focused on what I have to say or what I want to say, or I don't know what to say, because the focus is on us. And that makes us feel self-conscious and awkward and not very confident. But if you go into a conversation thinking, I wonder what's going on with them. And tuning into the energy that you're feeling from them, and show up curious, asking those questions, and just learning about them. You will find that you've created this space that's so comfortable and so inviting. And the next thing you know, you're sharing what you have too. And it just becomes this really nice little bubble, this warm little bubble. And people love it because they like to be heard. Who doesn't like to be heard? And so I start off with that. Just we work on conversations. We practice them, and tuning in to what we're feeling and sensing, and asking questions and learning how to listen. And as you do that more and more, as you practice that, you will become more and more confident just talking to people. Then the next thing we do is move into talking in a group. So Kathy was one of my students, and she first came to me to join my Speaker Sisterhood Club, which is a speaking club for women, sort of like Toastmasters. And she really wanted to build confidence in just speaking up in meetings where she works. And she wasn't able to do that. She's a manager, and she felt awkward talking to her team. She felt awkward talking to her boss. She felt awkward speaking up in meetings. And so we used that approach. We did a lot of improv and just got her thinking on her feet and relaxing a little bit, slowing down a little bit, learning to tell some stories, learning to listen, and learning to give herself the space to start thinking of things to say. Instead of feeling that pressure of what am I going to say and are people going to like it, she learned to relax. She learned to listen to others, and then listen to her own story and speak up. And so we did a lot of improv where I would throw out a prompt and say, okay, talk for 90 seconds on what you did today. And you just have to keep talking. And that just builds confidence because you get used to hearing yourself talk, and you get used to thinking on your feet. So over time, she began to raise her hand in the meetings, share an idea. Somebody would say, oh, that's a great idea. That gave her confidence. The next time she maybe shared a little bit more. And the more that she did this, the more her boss took notice. And other people began to take notice, and they began to thank her for sharing because it was so important and it was so valuable. And then that built more confidence. And now she leads meetings. So she's the leader of the meetings, and she even had enough confidence to ask for a promotion. So now she's in line and working with her boss for her to step into a director's role. I mean, it's just huge for her. And it started with conversations and speaking up in meetings. So
Are you ready for a question?
I am ready for a question.
So this is my question.
Okay.
Do you prepare for a meeting with a friend?
Good question. Of course, you're never going to know where the conversation's going to go, but let's say you do know you're getting ready to meet with a friend For example, I'm actually meeting with a friend on Thursday, and I haven't seen her for several years, and I'm really excited. So what I'm doing to prepare is I'm thinking of what I want to find out about what she's been doing. And she's going to ask me questions too, but I'm not going into the conversation thinking I want to make sure I tell her this, this, and this. Yes, I want to tell her things, but if I go into the conversation with my mind on me and what I want to say, I've kind of disconnected from that energetic connection already. So that's what I usually do. I try to get myself into that curiosity, and I start wondering. I wonder what's going on for her. I wonder what she's been doing. I want to find out. And you know as well as I do that feels really good when you're being asked questions, when somebody's interested in you, feels really good. So that's what I usually do. And then I'm relaxed. I'm not nervous. I'm not concerned about what I'm going to say. It just starts to come naturally. And when I've asked her questions, then she's going to naturally start asking me questions. So that leads into actually step 2, which is creating your own message, like knowing your own message, knowing what you want to share. You probably know Stephen Covey, who, he says, seek first to understand, right? So it's kind of the same idea. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. So the other part of it is being understood and being able to articulate yourself and being able to express your own ideas and your thoughts in a confident way. And so in my formula here, what we do is we create a magnetic message, and it's really geared towards that pitch, the elevator pitch, but it's more of a story. It's created in such a way that it magnetizes your audience right away and they want to hear more. Instead of it being all about you, you start off thinking, what do I want them to take away from what I want to share? So again, your thoughts are on them. This is the work I did with Kristen. She's an author. And she had just finished her book, and I said, tell me about your book. Well, when she told me about her book, she was like all over the place, and I couldn't understand what her book was about because she was here and there and everywhere. So we began to work on her magnetic message about her book. So we started with the end. What do you want people to walk away with about your book? And so we identified like the main point, the main thing about her book. And then I asked her, well, what made you want to write your book? And she started telling me this story. And it was just so interesting. And it was her why. And I said, start your message with that. Engage your people right away. Engage people within your message with something like a question or a story or maybe a fact or a statistic, something that gets their attention right away and they know what you're all about. So I might start mine with, hey, did you know that 4 out of 5 women do not feel confident? Well, I'm a confidence coach. And so then I go into that. And so I helped Kristen to do that with her book. And by the end of it, she was sharing it with people and everyone was saying, I want to read your book. And it was clear and concise, and we knew what her book was about, and we connected her why and her passion, and it was just very interesting. So when you work on your magnetic message, what are the things you're passionate about that you want to talk about? And it's a craft, like it's a skill that you learn. And you can work on these messages and these stories and practice them before you go into a networking event or before you go to talk to a potential client or a friend. And you've got them ready to share. And that builds confidence because you are prepared. So that's one way you can prepare to answer your question, Roger, too, is, have, if you're doing it socially, you could have a list of topics that you like to talk about kind of in your mind and form your ideas around them and practice talking about them. If it's business, then be ready with your magnetic message. Be ready to talk about why you do what you do. Have a story to tell or a statistic or a question. And
thank you. There's a question from Diane Daly.
Okay.
Can Janelle give some insights for me And I didn't understand it either. So Diane, could you unmute and please explain what your question is?
Okay, that was the second part of it. So the first part I had mentioned that I can speak, but I can't get out of the gate. So I, so for example, I have been wanting to meet up thingies forever, and this is the first time in probably a year and a half that I had, I was able to say, okay, I'm actually going to do this, because the fear is getting out of the gate. But once I'm out of the gate, then I'm fine. I just can't get out of the gate, and I know that that has something to do with some background stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I get to the gate, and I can't get past the gate. Once I'm out of the gate, you're like, what? Wait a second, who's this person? Yeah, no, it's really hard because nobody believes that I have this, I don't know, fear or lack of that part of confidence, because they see this really energetic person who can talk to anybody and have conversations, but I can't. I can't even get to the door of a gym, but I tried it once before and I was in tears.
Mm.
I was able to get past that and had somebody literally holding my hand to get into the door. After like about a week, I was able to go to the gym on my own. Once I'm in the gym, I'm totally fine, but I just couldn't get through the door.
Gotcha.
That's my issue. I can't get past the gate.
Gotcha. There's probably some stories there.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, and once you unearth those, you'll probably not have any trouble. You Usually the first thing I would do is have you think, become really aware in that moment when you feel like you're at the gate and you can't step through it. Like, what are you feeling in that moment? What's happening physically? What are you thinking? And try to go even to something underneath of that. And where did you first feel that? It's probably some sort of a thought I call them squatters in the land. It's like somebody squatted, like somebody that doesn't belong in your land, like squatted there. And it's a deeply embedded pattern of thinking or belief that is there in your subconscious. And it takes some time sometimes to uproot them. But start with creating awareness in that moment where you feel like you can't get through the gate, and stop and just say, okay, what am I thinking about right now? And where's that thought coming from? How's it showing up in my body? And the more that you do that, eventually your subconscious will tell you, but you've got to stop and kind of tune into it. And it may take several times of doing that. And then something will float up and show up in your mind. It'll be like, oh, what's that? And sometimes it doesn't seem like it's very important. Like some of my roots were things that happened in childhood that I thought, well, that was nothing. But it kept coming to me. So then I sat with it and I listened even deeper. And it was a memory from 4 or 5 years old that something happened that was very innocent. But in my childhood heart, I took it to mean something because I couldn't process it otherwise. And I believed it was true. And it just like got embedded in my subconscious. And once I uprooted that and thought, oh, well, that was kind of like the beginning of thinking this, and then these thoughts kind of pile up on top of each other through the years and become a story. So it's an excavation, kind of an uprooting. It starts with just stopping and think about what you're thinking about, and just try to sit with it and let your heart tell you.
Thanks,
It's really
Janelle.
just fear, and I'm just like, okay, should I get counseling? I don't know what to do.
Well,
So I just kind of want to, just
Yeah.
a little bit of like, okay, what would you suggest?
I would suggest to sit with it. Fear usually to me is like we're afraid of something that hasn't happened yet, usually with fear, and we're afraid we're going to lose something. So to me, it's the opposite of love. If you love yourself, and what I was talking about earlier, trusting yourself, the fear usually goes away. being present in the moment, and whatever you're afraid of hasn't happened yet, and reminding yourself, okay, it hasn't happened yet, whatever I'm afraid of. If you can pinpoint what you're afraid of and what you're thinking about it, that will help too. And of course, we don't have time tonight to really dive
I
into that.
understand.
That's a
Thank
starting.
you.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janelle. Janelle, you've got just a few short minutes left.
Okay, I'm going to zip through the rest of my little steps here just so you have them. So step 3, you start to cultivate those client journey conversations, and my gift to you tonight will help you with that. And again, know it is a journey. When you're talking to leads and potential clients, don't rush in. Just get to know them and create that relationship. Ask them those questions, and this gift I'm giving you will help you with that. Tammy was a salesperson in her job, and she was afraid to make those calls and have those conversations because she thought she was bothering people. But when we turned it around to being, well, you are just asking them, what do you need? And if what they need is what you offer, then you just can invite them to listen to what you have to offer. And that changed everything for her. And by the end of the class, she said she had so many calls to make, and she was making call after call after call. She had opened the gate, and it was just this change in her mind of, I'm bothering them, to I'm just inviting them to, I'm just trying to find out what they need, and I'm inviting them to share that with me. And that leads into the invitation conversation, or that sales conversation, where you want people raising their hand to work with you. And again, these are some, these bullet points just come from kind of the psychology of selling. Why do people buy? They buy when they feel connected. They buy when they feel heard and seen and valued. When they can see the vision for what you can do for them and how you can help them with their problem, and they feel listened to. Again, invite, don't convince. And 5, we start working on the public speaking skills then. Once the conversation skills are there and you really know your message and you feel like you're tuned in to what you bring to the table, then public speaking is something that you learn, and it's something you practice. And the more that you do that and you learn skills, you learn techniques, you do it, you practice it, you get confident. One of my clients, Lydia, came from the Bronx. She came up from poverty. She has this amazing story of overcoming so many things. And she is now a multi-six-figure business owner and is doing wonderfully. She's super successful. And she's been invited to speak, public speak, give speeches from stages, but she hasn't done it up until now, simply because she didn't have the skills. She didn't know how to put it all together. She didn't know the techniques. She didn't know how to tell her story. She wasn't sure how to put it all together. And so then she didn't feel confident in doing it. So we've been working on that, putting it all together, really with the same technique that I did with Kristen and her story. And start with the end in mind. What do you want the main things people to take away from your talk? What's the stories you can weave in? What's something you can open to grab their attention with? And then practice. Put it together, practice it on somebody, get some feedback, practice it again, record yourself, do it again, and then take the leap and do what I did and do something scary like start a podcast or, get into a group like this and give a presentation. And she did that. She gave her first presentation just this past week. She knocked it out of the ballpark. And the cool thing about it was she didn't have all the techniques down. She had some filler words. She repeated herself. She didn't have all the speaking techniques down, but her story was so powerful. She came across so authentic and so passionate. Everybody in the room was enthralled. She got 2 more speaking gigs out of it, and she didn't have it perfect yet. So you don't have to have it perfect. You'll improve as you go. And I would just say jump into it. And then my last thing is get visible, make a plan. Here's just some ideas of how to get yourself out there. Pick one of them. Find out where your audience is and how to get in front of them and start doing it. Make a plan. Pick a couple things. Put them on your calendar. Find out who you need to talk to. Talk to Roger. Do a presentation here and start taking those steps and building your confidence that way. And we usually create a visibility action plan, and we put that sign out there on the road and get it down on in the calendar and actually do it. And then they come back to me and they're like, wow, I did it. I did my first Facebook Live, or I went to my first networking meeting and did a presentation, or whatever it might be. And they're pumped because they tried it, and that builds their confidence. Those are my 6 steps. This is all in a course that I created, and right now it's going on, but I run it several times a year, and it's called the Fearless Confidence Formula. And what I'm giving you tonight is a piece of this. It's called the Lead to Client Conversation Blueprint. And as I said, it is a collection of scripts and templates, and it takes you through this journey. So Roger, I think you're going to put the link there up for everyone. They can go and grab that. Totally free.
I just posted it.
Okay, very cool. And that is it, folks. So if you have any more questions, I am more than happy to answer them. I'm going to stop my share.
Well, let's limit our questions to 1 because we're pretty much at time. Does anyone have a final question for Janelle?
Oh, thank you, Diane.
The presentation was wonderful from Diane. Yes, I do, says Amanda. Amanda, fire away with your question.
Hi there. I'm just going to unmute and say it. I'm curious about the imposter part you said, like, and you feel like an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
I've started in a new business, and I'm kind of really trying hard to put it in my head very, very deep and make it very clear. Confidence is not an issue for me, not in normal circumstances. My dream job outside of what I've just started is to just stand up and talk in front of people. So public speaking is not an issue. I'm just running into the fact that I work in finance now. So I'm asking people to trust me with their money. And I feel like there's a lot that I just still don't know about what I do. And it's not that I don't have a team of people to help me with that, but I'm feeling like, because I don't know that myself yet, it's very hard for me to really feel confident saying I should be the person to help you do this.
Right.
So where do I really just have to lean in on that statement you had made about I already know more than I think I do, and I had to take some pretty serious tests to get where I'm at and study a good bit, so I know more than the people I'm talking to, but I'm really having a hard time leveraging that.
And that's very normal and common in anybody that's starting a new business in a new field, fairly new field. When I started coaching, that came up all the time with all the coaches. Like, I can't take on a client because I haven't been certified yet. And our instructors kept saying, yes, you can. You know more than those people coming to you just from the training that we've already given you. You're already a few steps ahead. Start doing it. And we were like, what? But I did. I jumped right in and started coaching people, and I discovered that secret is real. Like, you do know, you have some training, you are ahead, already a few steps ahead, but know that you are going to continue to grow in your expertise. If you wait, this is what I used to tell coaches all the time, if you wait until you're certified, or if you wait until you feel this mastery level, right? And as a new coach, you're not a master coach. You're never going to get there, because how do you get there? You get there by coaching, or you get there by being a financial advisor. A lot of it is learning, but a lot of it is doing. And so you've got to start somewhere. Start with where you're at, and know that what you have right now is going to benefit people. And as you grow, you're going to even grow more in expertise and have even more, if that makes sense.
It's perfect sense. I really do. I'm going to lean in on that. I know more than I think I do.
Yes. And you're greater than you think you are.
Thank you. Janelle, I think we have to wrap it up here.
Okay.
I just want to thank you on behalf of the whole EIN 80,000 of us. You've taught us all a huge lesson in the value of vulnerability. I think there isn't a soul in this room who doesn't feel closer to you because you had the courage to be vulnerable and tell us some not very nice things about your past. So thank you very, very much for not only the hard content you've shared about confidence, but you actually demonstrated a hugely valuable tool, the tool of vulnerability. And for that, I thank you profoundly.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me and for all of your engagement with me. I love it. Thank you.